Right, you had 15 minutes, which with 14 questions, and think about how this would all work together, and obviously you can't say the pace is going to be the same for every single question throughout, but you had 14 questions, 15 minutes, quarter of the test, 14 times 4 is 56, which is a reasonable sum. I don't think you're going to have 60 questions, it'll probably be in the 50s. So that 56 is reasonable. You can kind of gauge where you're at time-wise. Where were you working the whole time? Did you need more time? Did you have 3 minutes where you're going, what do I do now? So that gives you some possibilities in the sense that you can go back, double check your answers. I think the thing that I would probably want to invest more time in, and not saying that you're doing a bad job with it, is I can read closely. I can take my time with the passages and figure out what's going on. The one thing that we did not do, although you did a couple Fridays ago when we did the last multiple choice, remember, you're not just all indicating answers on your sheet, but you also are bubbling them in. And I know different people have different methods to it. I would not recommend being the person who waits until the very end to bubble all of your questions. Some folks will do that. Whether you want to go a question at a time, or a page at a time, or a passage at a time, that's up to you. But I would not wait until the very end. I think you're more prone to make a mistake somewhere and all of a sudden go, 53 answers for 54 questions, or wait, where's number 55? I ran out, where you skipped something. Keep in mind, I know I've said this a bunch of times, but bears repeating, you'll have the passage on one sheet, questions on the other. Turn the page, passage again, questions again. Turn the sheet, passage again, questions again. So there's never a time where it says look at line 21 where you have to start flipping through stuff to find that line, or the footnote questions. You'll be able to see all of those things. So that should be a little bit of peace of mind. I think the most important thing for a passage like this one is to figure out what is going on and try to give yourself a little bit of maybe like a summary or an idea. What's the main argument that he's doing within each paragraph? Overall, you can tell that he has an issue with the way that people try to communicate ideas. What are the different problems that people run into? Like if you were to summarize, what's the first issue? What's like the first problem that the person has?
Words don't make you smart, it really just sounds.
Okay, so in this case, the person has words, but they do not have what? Or he does not have ideas. So we have words without ideas. What do we have going on with line 14 in that second one? This person has ideas, but they don't have words to really back them up or support them. I think the third one starts to get a little bit, I don't want to say more confusing, but certainly different with it.
The people using the same word for many different things.
Okay, so when it comes to words, there's a lack of variety.
Yes.
How about the fourth one? Might not be quite as succinct.
Someone that uses words wrongly.
Yeah, like it's almost like they're foreign words, so essentially just incorrect words. Give myself a little bit more room up here. Fifth one's my favorite.
He hacked the ideas of substances disagreeing with the real existence of things, so called once materials of true knowledge.
Thank you for repeating the passage, Dylan.
Made up words.
Or just made up like
Yeah.
stuff, whether it be ideas, words, made up. Oops.
I think they use gibberish in this passage. They do, yep.
And then what happens in the last paragraph? Summary. So if you can at least figure out what's going on in each part, I think it does give you a little bit of an increased chance. In some questions that you might end up getting wrong, I would say, well, look back and see what is happening in that paragraph. Then it might start to make a little bit more sense. So, first one, as in used in line 12, periods may be best defined as. Certainly you saw marks of punctuation and went, ooh, I like that one. But any other? Are we all going D?
I went.
When D?
I said B.
B?
I said
So if Alexis and Dylan does it,
That's probably it.
It always takes someone to break the ice. Oh yeah, I put that too. B.
A.
Okay.
And the
Pulling out the red pen. Well, D obviously makes sense because period is a mark of punctuation.
Well, yeah, but they're talking about like.
Yeah, no, and certainly D, again, this isn't a real test, so we don't know the percentage of people. I bet D would be the most common answer. For all such words, however put in discourse, according to the right construction of grammatical rules, and people saw grammatical rules, I'm sure, and went, wait a minute, hey, we're talking about grammar, mechanics, period, punctuation, all that kind of stuff. I think the more important phrase is the one that's right before it, right construction of words. What's the construction of words? Sentences. And so in this case, then, the periods is making reference to that right construction, which is going to be the collection, the combination of the words. About 30, line 23, the word ones refers to. I'm thinking we come down to two word terms here. I figured it was going to be A and C. Okay? Anyone want to fight for their
Right?
answer? Man, what'd you go with? A.
If you go back, it says
This man is hindered. What's it mean to be hindered? Yeah, handicapped, you're not working. In his discourse, for want of words to communicate with complex ideas, which he's there forced to make known by the enumeration of simple ones. So here's the ones. What did we say that the issue is that this person has? They have ideas, but they don't have words. So what would the simple ones be? Their ideas are complex, their words are simple, so one goes back to the words. A.
Ha, ha, ha. Hey, hey, hey. No, we did it. We don't.
How about 31? Second paragraph. Shift from the first sentence to the second can be described as D.
I'm gonna be honest, I had no clue what this question was
Yeah,
gonna
I would
ask.
see.
Well, so
Class.
basically we would be looking for what does the first sentence do, what does the second sentence do. So we're starting with line 14. Secondly, he has complex idea without particular names for them, would be in no better case than a bookseller who had in his warehouse volumes that lay there unbound and without titles, which he could therefore make known to others only by showing the loose sheets and communicating them only by tale. What is he writing in that sentence? What is the author, what is Locke doing? He's making a what? Metaphor, analogy, comparison. Then, this man is hindered in his discourse for want of words to communicate, so he goes from this analogy, this comparison that he has, to what he is literally speaking about. So there's a shift from figurative language, figurative meaning of words, to literal denotation, definition of the words. Now, I think the important thing to also consider with this one is, well, what do the other ones mean? Objective means without. News reporter, yeah, like bias. A news account should be objective. Now, an editorial is going to be subjective, bless you, where your emotions are going to be in there. Indicative to interrogative. Remember in third grade, interrogative sentences were what type of sentences? They were questions. Indicative are ones that relay facts. So the hope is you'd see, hey, I don't have any questions here taking place. Analytical discursive. That's probably the word where people are going, I don't know about that one. To be discursive means to like ramble, digress. Holden Caulfield is very discursive, in his thought process. And then speculative to assertive, assuming something, inferences to getting that point across. But yeah, figurative to literal is what would be taking place in there. Now then you have a follow-up question. I don't know why mine says lines 30 because it's lines 20 and that's what yours says. The comparison of lines 14 to 20 likens words to
C.
The contents of a warehouse.
It's basically everything.
B.
all letters included. So we got a person again, ideas without words. So he has complex ideas without names for them. So this would be no better than a bookseller who in his warehouse has volumes there that lay unbound and without titles. So if they're unbound and without titles, that means how are the books? They are all loose sheets of paper. If they're unbound, they are not together. So this person does not have the words to keep them together. What keeps the books, the pages together, Andy? The binding. Answer is E. I think 32, again, just like how number 30 was, it makes more sense if you follow along with what is the point he's trying to make within that paragraph. They got ideas, they don't have words to back them up. 33 is a bounce back question, especially if you got 31 right. This one should be A, analogies. 34, you're not sure. E?
I said E.
He's an average.
A.
He's a fair guy. He's average.
That's what we need. I didn't understand, so.
We're looking down here. So, he that puts not constantly the same sign for the same idea, but uses the same word, sometimes in one and sometimes in another signification, ought to pass in schools and conversation for as fair a man as he does in the market and exchange. What are they doing with looking at pass in schools and conversation and market and exchange? They are, or he is, structurally, what's he trying to do with those two things? He's doing with a lot of the other examples earlier. It's just as, or similar to, the same as. He's comparing them. So if he's comparing them, they're saying that they would be the same of those words, which means the same, equitable. Share likeness, fairness across all boards. Anyone have a definition for C?
Was that one of our best
Is that
words?
It's an orange.
I think that means innocent.
What's a word? What's the word that has that root that we know, or that you'd be?
Clemency.
All right, clemency. If you ask for clemency, you're asking for mercy, forgiveness. Clement means merciful. So even if you come across a word you're not 100% sure, you might be able to figure some things out just based on the parts of the word, the etymologies, and piece it together. Third paragraph. We know what an extended metaphor is. Anyone have a loose sentence definition? Or a periodic sentence definition? Okay. Antithesis? We should know. Technically, we should know B and C because they were on literary term quizzes too. Anyone have antithesis?
Yeah, it's like the opposite.
Yeah, definition. Juxtaposition, contrasting statements written in parallel form. Best of times, worst of times. Many were called, few were chosen. One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Those are all antithesis. Ad hominem. JT and Dylan better get this one. It's attacking the person, not the argument itself. It is not A, D, or E. It is down to these two. B and C are basically opposites of one another. A loose sentence and a periodic sentence, in both cases, you have dependent and independent clauses. In a periodic sentence, it is not, listen up, it is not a complete sentence until the end of the sentence. You need the last part of the sentence for it to be complete. If you stop before that, it's an incomplete sentence. Loose sentence is the opposite. You have an independent clause followed by dependent parts. So if you can read the sentence, the third paragraph, and stop before the end and it's a complete sentence, it's loose. If you have to wait till the very end for it to be a complete sentence, it's periodic, and in this case, it's periodic. You need the last part for it to be complete. Line 44. So now, oops, wrong way. So at this point now in line 44, we're down to our fifth person who is making stuff up. Keeping that in mind then, what would substances be contrasted with if we're dealing with a person who makes things up?
Realism.
His substances are not real.
What's real?
37. So it's asking you, from a logical standpoint, how would you group these paragraphs together? Can they be grouped together? So 1 and 2. We have 1 dealing with words without ideas. 2 is ideas without words. Are those similar in context?
Yes.
So that means at the very least, we would be looking at C, D, or E because we know 1 and 2 go together. Does 3 match up with 1 and 2? Because for number 3, we're now taking a look at person who is using same word over and over.
Yeah, it does not go.
I don't really go with it. What are they doing if they use the same word over and over? They're probably using the words at some point incorrectly. What's happening with the 4th person? We wrote incorrect words. So it sounds like 3 and 4 would be similar, misuse of words. 5, you have a person who's totally making stuff up. Do I have any that goes 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and then 5? I do. Answer for this one is E. But you can't figure that one out unless you got an idea as to structurally what is each part doing. Real quick here, we're going to wrap up. Last paragraph. We already answered this one. D. Summing it up. 39, you're hoping is A because you just like the answer. It's A.
What the scout?
Think about it. Even if you don't know what a chimera is, which has the head of a lion, a body of a goat, and a tail of a serpent,
I thought it was food.
Cody knew that one. Even if you don't know what a chimera is, that whole idea would be absolutely absurd, and it would be imaginary, which matches up with essentially that idea that he's trying to get across at that point. Now, 40 and 41, I would say these also come to, do you understand how these terms are being used? With so far as the paragraphs. Who is going to misunderstand the meaning of the word refuse and frequently use it to mean agree? Who's going to incorrectly use a word? D, 4th paragraph. Who is going to use apple to mean multiple things? The person who doesn't have a variety of words and uses the same ones over and over. So that's going to be C. And then you take a look, all right, can I find term, name, and sign, which are going to get used for as a term words within my paragraph? In paragraph 1, line 6, learned terms. In the next one, I already have it kind of highlighted, so we'll have to circle or something. We have names showing up. And then when you get down here, you do have the same sign in line 26. So that gives us, therefore, that last option, 1, 2, and 3, they all get used. Now, this one again, I would say you're certainly looking at the higher difficulty level. If you broke even, 7 right, 7 wrong, that's still passing. So 7 out of 14 is passing. 8 out of 14, you're still in a 3, but it's a strong 3. Once you get to 9, now you're talking 4. 10 is on that borderline, high 4 or 5. Happy 6th period. Hold off the door. I mean, yeah, you get the 3 on this one, then you should be good for the rest.
This one I actually started red because I knew it was 14 questions in 15 minutes. So I actually broke this one down. It made sense.